Okay, it's video time again, and we are talking $5 rock and roll records. And we're going to shoot a video here, probably 600 $5 records. I'm going to lift them up one at a time. Uh, when my assistant films, they should be in alphabetical order starting at A. And so let's get going because this is going to take a couple minutes to get through them all. And you can see there's going to be various styles of rock and roll for the 60s, 70s, and into the 80s. Um, there will probably not be much in the way of punk rock, but there will be mostly classic rock, blues rock, folk rock, a lot of standards that are here, but these will all be available for $5 each. And of course, if you buy volume, you can lower that cost. So we're going to try to get through these as fast as I can and as accurately as I can. And if you see something that you want to go back to, you could always pause the video. I think this is going to be pretty good as long as I can hold up Bay City Rollers and some Beach Boys, $5. You see stuff like $5 Beatles. Obviously, it's not going to be great quality, but it's certainly worth $5 in my eyes. Keep rolling here. Bebop Deluxe. Jeff Beck. All I gotta do is get a little rhythm going here. Some of these I may actually be covering up the title, but being that I'm doing this from behind, it may be a little bit difficult for me to see that. All these records are available for sale here in the Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana area. If there's something that you see you like, I could probably put it aside for you till the next record show here in Chicago. But these will be, I don't always bring the $5 because there's just too many of them. And this, I know this one has a scratch, that's why that one's in there. Okay, it gets a little bit easier when it gets closer to my body here. Jackson Brown, it has Bruford, the Buckinghams, Buffalo Springfield, the Byrds. Carpenters sell. Don't sleep on the Carpenters. There won't be any Christmas ones in here. You know, the blues get their own section. R&B gets their own section. These are strictly rock. This is a Latin import. Everything's in Latin on that one. Chicago, Chicago, Chicago. Clapton. All these records have been inspected, cleaned for the most part, and evaluated. Some still in the shrink. All of them do have a supplemental bag put on them. You may see some dots on some of them. That's just for internal use. That means nothing. That just tells me that they've been moved over to this $5 rack. Okay, Alice Cooper, the Cowsills, Creedence. Okay, I think we're doing pretty good here. We're gonna jump back down here. Okay, back down to the front row here. Good there. Crying Shaves, the Chicago group, right there. Cufflinks. So there should only be one copy of each record because I actually have overstock. So I'm not taking 10 copies of one record. And then after the show, I generally go through the overstock and replace the ones that have been sold. Neil Diamond, a few Neil Diamonds that make the cut. You won't see a lot of You shouldn't see any Tom Jones or Engelbert Humperdinck in here. This should all be rock. But that Neil Diamond record is actually a pretty good one. That's the first time we heard Sweet Caroline on that record. Okay, moving right along here up to the Doobie Brothers. Trying to be as accurate as I can here. Hopefully you guys are getting something out of this. I know I've had a number of requests, people asking about $5 records. But like I said, there's just too many to take to every show. So we're going to try something a little bit different here today. Some of these titles may be new to you. It's amazing how many records were printed in the 70s, how many different records. I think, you're right, when you think you've seen everything from the 70s, here comes a whole nother group. So most of these are from the 70s, like I had stated. Probably about 25% go back to the 60s. And there's about maybe 20-25% from the 80s in here. Obviously, there wouldn't be nothing from the 90s because those are very valuable as they entered the blackout period. Okay, Peter Frampton. Okay, coming back here. A lot of fun compiling all these Run Joey Run. Remember that one? That was fun. It's been fun compiling all of these over the last couple of years, and there's certain people that just buy $5 records, and they buy a lot of them. They'll buy 20 at a show. They'll make a nice pile, and we'll cut them a nice price on, give them a nice volume discount. Anytime you buy a collection, as much as you want to get out of the $5 record business, every time you buy a collection, you're going to find some that are going to be right back in there. In fact, some of these, I wouldn't be surprised if I have as many as 5 or 6 copies of some of these. And I always try to lay out the best looking one first. And that's George Harrison there. There's George Harrison, yeah. Hartsfield. Jimi Hendrix. That Hendrix is probably not going to be mint, obviously. Maybe got another back there. Buddy Holly, Buddy Holly. Illusion. There's In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida. Speaking of having 5, that's probably one of them that I've got at least 5 copies of, or more. Several Iron Butterflies. Joe Jackson, the Jaggers, the Jags, James Gang. Okay, up to the front again. Hopefully there's not a glare coming across. Jefferson Airplane. I'm thinking right after that it's going to be Jefferson Starship, which is the same group. I sometimes try to put them in chronological order. That doesn't always work. Jethro Tull. Probably should see a number of Jethro Tull come through here. There's a great record there, Songs from the Woods. More Jethro Tull. I can kind of see on the Elton John. I can kind of see on the back when a barcode passes by. That kind of tells me it's from the 80s. There's one right there. There's one right there from the 80s. The Great Kansas record there. Yeah, something like that. I would have never known that before I was going through this. Andy Kim got the great, the King Crimson. Obviously, it's not going to be mint. two of the same Brenda Lee. There must have been something. One may have been an import. There's a guy, Huey Lewis. Hopefully these are coming through nice and clear. My assistant is doing a wonderful job holding the camera steady. There's a guy, Little Richard. I think that's may have been Loverboy. Trying to guess what they are just from the back. Loving Spoonful. They were on Ed Sullivan last night. Skinner. The Mamas and the Papas. There's an Ed Sullivan mainstay. Manfred Mann. Again, these will all be laid out. Usually I take, if I bring one box, I bring them all. So that's the challenge. I'll never bring like A through M one show. It's always going to be A through Z. And so right now you get about 60 per box, and there's 10 boxes right here. So that's a little quick math tells me that's going to be 600. There's Joni Mitchell, the great Joni Mitchell. Eddie Money. Yeah, like I said, Jazz Records, they get their own box, $5 Jazz, $5 R&B will be in a different box. Mata Hoople, Rick Nelson, or I should say Ricky Nelson, depending on how old it is. There's a Rick. It's New Colony 6, yep, they're from Chicago. Okay, down to here. Randy Newman, John. It's funny when you put these in alphabetical order, ever since I've been doing this, interesting fact, there's quite a few more A through M's. As you see, we're over 2/3 of the way. More rock artists that are A through M than N through Z. N through Z only makes up about 2/5, where A through M makes up about 3/5. Kind of interesting little thing I noticed. You know, using the band name or the artist's last name. Up to O. Breathing room in there. Outlaws. Robert Palmer. Robert Palmer put out a lot of records. It wasn't until late in his career that he became a household name. Lighting okay? Hopefully the lighting is okay. Point blank. Here's Elvis. Only a few Elvis made it into here, I believe. Those are going to be in nice shape. Pure Prairie League. Okay. We're on PM like almost 3/4 of the way through, so that's kind of an interesting little quirk. The Great Rare Earth. Yeah, many of these, as I see, they're still in the shrink wrap. Renaissance. REO Speedwagon. keeping them in alphabetical order helps me only bring one copy, limit the numbers that I take. That's a lot of why I do that. Plus my OCD will not allow me to not have them in alphabetical order. Wonderful Linda Ronstadt. I got a Linda Ronstadt buyer. Always asks me if I got any new Linda Ronstadts that she doesn't have yet. Leon Russell from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Sale kit. So yeah, a lot of one-hit wonders I'm seeing going by here. Sam the Sham, the Sandpipers. I love that song that they did, the big hit. I think we're up to Santana here. Carly Simon, Nancy Sinatra. My guy Slade right there. Okay, and then the last row. Dusty Springsteen, Squire. Movie star, I think. Cat Stevens. That L. Stewart record, that one sells. Rod Stewart. I think I'm gonna. So far, I don't think I've missed any, but. You know, again, you feel free to pause. It's only a 12-inch single here by Striper. Sticks. That's an import there. I can see from the gem sticker on the back. Synergy. James Taylor. Lots of stuff from the 70s and early 80s. 10cc, 10 years after. Read on Night. Oops. Townsend. Okay, and then we are up to the final box here. Home stretch. I'll screw it up now. Traffic. Robin Trower. That's the tubes there. So again, all these are available for $5 each, or volume discounts, of course. Love the Ventures. Everyone loves the Ventures. Does anyone not love the Ventures? They put out a lot of records. Those Ventures are all in great shape. That's why they're $5, because a lot of them are valued at less than $5. Wainwright, up to the W's. Joe Walsh. If I were to shoot this 6 months from now, I think that it would be a whole different. Well, a lot of it would be different copies of the same record. But they turn over pretty well here. Paul McCartney, Wings, Edgar Winter. Okay, almost there. Bill Wyman. The Great Yes. Youngbloods. And I think these are going to be various artists. Don't have a lot of various artists, but I got a few here that actually have some value. various artists. That's a Warner Brothers one, and Heavy Metal is the last one. So there you are. That's 600 or so, and those are all going to be for sale for $5. Thank you for watching, and we will see you soon at the record show.